unwrap these thoughts and how I visualize movie scene starting in. Roll the rhythm, call it sin. City's slick.
A McLaren. I've got the keys in my pocket today for a McLaren, right? I'm currently stood in my shorts, by the way, because it's a very hot day, it's summer, and you know, a bit of wind as well, and we're on a busy road, so if there's a bit of wind noise or road noise, I apologise for that. But in the background, we've got a McLaren 570 GT. I'm stood at Indigo Residential in Luton. Now, I'll give you a little insight on what they're about. They are the leading estate agent in Luton. My little brother Jerome works for them. The directors are friends of mine, and to give you all an idea on how well they're doing, they've got a McLaren, okay? And we've been having chats for a long time since they bought it about me coming over one day and doing a video on it. And it's a car that I've always been so keen to get in the driver's seat of. I've always been so curious to see what they drive like. And today's the day. You know, my car is a 3.8 V6 twin turbo. I love the way my GTR delivers power. This is a 3.8 V8 twin turbo. We've got an extra 2 cylinders. It's in a smaller body. It's a lot less weight, and it's been built by McLaren. So the idea of today is it's just going to be like a first impressions video. I don't know loads about them, if I'm honest, so forgive me for that. We're not going to do too much in detail, but I'm going to show you what it feels like to be in the driver's seat of one of these cars for the first time ever. And for me, that's a hell of an experience. So I'm genuinely very excited, as you can probably imagine, about getting in the driver's seat of this car. And like I said, the plan for today is just a first impressions thing. So I've got the keys, I've got the car. We're going to get rolling with the intro in a sec, and I'm going to get in the driver's seat after the intro, and we're going to go for a little drive, all right? 3, 2, 1.
Say goodbye, no.
So you can tell by the sound, it sounds like quite leery. It is a cold start in theory, but it's a warm day, so it's not going to be too unsettled on tick over in a minute. What I'm going to do is first thing I need to do is I need to get the aircon on, because it's bloody boiling in here. Aircon. And this is exactly what I mean. Just bear in mind that this is all completely new to me. Aircon. Okay, we've got the aircon on. I'll get the window open for a little while before I head off. So, first thing you notice through the cameras is the interior is exceptional. Like, everywhere you look, there's like little dots of red leather, there's little bits of spec, like we've got Bose and Wilkins speakers. We've got this sort of iPad looking screen in the centre, surrounded by carbon fibre. I like the look of that. We've got a suede steering wheel, got suede everywhere, Alcantara suede, whatever it is. Suede steering wheel on the roof, on the door cards. Plenty more carbon fibre over here as well. Centre console's got carbon fibre on it, and we've got some carbon fibre paddle shifters as well behind the steering wheel. The aircon is now beginning to kick in, it's beginning to cool down there, but what I will need to do is turn the fans down so you lot can hear me a bit better. So, all this is touch screen as well, by the way, so you can slide the fan controls. How cool is that? On the screen there. So, we're going to get the window up. We're We've currently got the nose lifted at the front because we're reversing out a sloped driveway, so just keeps the nose off the ground, that's all. And we've got a really low front end, so I would not want to risk catching the front end on the ground. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to put it in reverse. Reverse is a button in the centre there. There is no gear stick or anything like that here, it's just the gearbox is all controlled by buttons, alright? Put it in reverse. I'm quite happy with how I'm sat. As soon as I put it in reverse, I've noticed that we've got a reverse camera. So going back to the spec thing, so like I said, we've got Bose and Wilkins sounds, we've got paddle shift gearbox, reverse camera. I have noticed as well we've got sat nav, we've got DAB. You know, this is a very well spec car. Let's begin the journey. Yeah, handbrakes, electric handbrake located on the right hand side here, and let's get the ball rolling. Bear in mind that I'm driving this car as sensibly as I possibly can. This is not mine, and I certainly, of all the cars in my life that I decide to damage, I do not want to damage this one. So I pull it in drive, and away we go. Something else that's really nice about the cabin of this car, which I haven't talked about, which you've probably already noticed, is the panoramic roof. So it's a glass roof. I don't know if that's an extra or if that's just they all come like that, but that's really nice, especially for filming, because it lets all the light in and you get a good clear shot of the way this interior looks. So I'm currently on the A6 heading out of Luton in a McLaren 570 GT. This car is, like I said to you earlier, it's a car that well, not just this car, but McLaren as a brand, it's been something that I've been dying to get my hands on. And the reason for it is because McLaren, as a kid, as I grew up, they created the McLaren F1. Now I've got a handful of all-time favourite cars, and they all come from around that era. The McLaren F1 was the fastest production car ever made. It is like the Bugatti Veyron of its time. When the Bugatti Veyron came out, it shocked the world. Yeah, they were exceptionally powerful, and they outperformed anything on the roads. And that's exactly what McLaren F1 done. Shortly after that, McLaren faded out as a company, and they didn't create any cars for a long time. And in 2010, the brand come back around. They're still based in Surrey, where they used to be based, and they've begun building cars again. The first car was the McLaren MP412C, a very good looking car, very futuristic, very modern, and it had the same 3.8 V8 twin turbo engine as pretty much all of the McLarens in the current range have. McLaren only developed supercars. That's all they develop. Supercars and hypercars. They don't do entry-level, run-of-the-mill. They don't do boring, everyday cars. They just make supercars and hypercars. The McLaren 570 GT is actually considered to be a tourer, a grand tourer, hence the GT. They built this car to compete with things like a Bentley Continental GT. Now, I love a Bentley Continental GT. They're great cars, but to me, this is it's a supercar. I know they've tried to create a comfortable supercar, and you probably feel comfortable travelling miles and miles in it, but this is, in anyone's eyes, a seriously high-level supercar. And me being a Nissan GTR owner, I do, like we all do, we naturally look at other cars. I always consider what else I could buy for my money. And if I'm honest, the only car that has really ever stood out for me is a McLaren. If I was ever to replace my GTR, which I will do no doubt one day, I really want to hang on to turbos. Like, turbo power for me is just the one. I love turbo power, and there's nothing a step up or like in the supercar range anyway that has turbos. If you went for a Ferrari, you'd end up getting, I'd go for a 458 for example. That's a V8 naturally aspirated engine. If I went for an Audi R8 V10 Plus, which this is often compared to, that's a fantastic choice of car. I'm a huge fan of them. I love the way they drive. But it's a naturally aspirated engine. I just couldn't do that. So the next thing is quite obvious for me, is to go for a McLaren. Now, the most affordable one that isn't in my price range, but the one that I always look at, is the MP412C. It's a little bit older than this. but it's such a bloody good looking car, and it's got that same 3.8 V8 twin turbo engine. And that is the exact reason why I've been so curious to drive one of these cars. And when I knew that the boys at Indigo got their hands on one, like they've had it for a good 6 months now, I was like, oh, I need to drive that car. I see him at car shows all the time, and I always look and I think, I'm so curious to see what that drives like. And here I am, sat in the driver's seat, and I'm banging on about how much I want to drive one. I should really be concentrating on actually driving it. The engine's just here, and it's 570 horsepower, hence the 570, and the power all goes to the rear wheels, which sounds like a disaster, but they are very well known to put power brilliantly to the ground. The gearbox in this thing is absolutely spot on. It is perfect. Now I'm dying to just open it up a little bit. I just really want to get on a road where I can get past the S-Max for starters and just feel the power. So there was a bit of power there, loads of turbo pull. Indicator stalks are lovely looking things, they're nice to use as well. Just travelling around a gentle bend at the minute in the outside lane. I'll wait till we hit a bit of a straight. We're high up in the rev range. Right, there's a button down here, manual, there we go. We're in manual mode. And there is also an active button. So we press the active button, and that puts handling in sport, the powertrain into a sport mode, and we're in a manual mode as well. So let's just double check that we're definitely in manual. Yes, we are. So let's just feel the power. Traction control light is flickering at me because I'm battling to keep the power down to the ground. As you can imagine, this car doesn't weigh a lot. It's got a carbon fibre tub, so we've got loads of carbon fibre here. It weighs about 1,300 kilos from memory. I stayed up last night, I've done as much research as I possibly could. About 1,300 kilos, big engine, V8, 2 turbos, and as you can imagine, the battle to keep the power down, although they are known to put power down really well, the battle is quite a fierce one, because maybe because partly in my head I'm just feeling like I'm just a bit worried about doing any damage to it, but secondly, it's going to be powerful. It weighs nothing, and it's got that bloody big engine there behind me. Oh. So, with this car, as you begin to accelerate, you've got the noise behind you, you can hear the whistling of the turbos. The gearbox, like I said, is spot on, and the power begins to kick in, alright? All of this happens very quickly as well, by the way. We're currently in second gear. We're going to give it some throttle. We've got a bit of road ahead. I'm going to accelerate, alright? Ready? 3, 2, 1. The whole McLaren experience just kicked in there. This car does deliver power in a phenomenal way. It's unreal, but I really don't feel like the roads is a place to test the power of this car. I'm saying that because it is a seriously high performance car. It is built to be on a track. Although, yeah, it's a GT car, and they've made it comfortable. They've made it perform or sound a bit more subtle than a hypercar. This is a high-end supercar, and I am playing with the power and I'm enjoying the power, but I don't want to push it anywhere near its limits, because I don't think these roads are fit for the limits of this car. One thing I've found myself doing is flicking up and down the gears. The gearbox is the most enjoyable gearbox I've ever used. I've also noticed that for some strange reason, the paddles are almost connected. So they pivot rather than, they're not individually switched. Which is interesting, I don't know why that is. But that's irrelevant, that's completely irrelevant. I don't know why I've even mentioned that, but the way this car delivers power and the way the gearbox just flicks through the gears is perfect. And that's honestly, I suppose you want to hear that it's over-exceeded my expectations. It hasn't over-exceeded my expectations. It's met my expectations. This is the best car I've ever driven. It's a supercar built by McLaren. It's got turbos. It's got this interior and the spec and the DAB and the nav and carbon everywhere. This is what you want when you buy a car. This is success. This is when you've made it. I think I'm done, but before I go, actually, there's one more thing that I want to talk about with this car. It's the one thing that really did get me excited. It would encourage me to buy one of these cars if I was about to buy one. So the initial thing that really stood out for me when I got in this car is the doors. Now most doors, they open outwards. For example, I'm currently in a Skoda Octavia. See? The doors in McLaren, however, they open upwards, and I'll show you exactly how they open. There's a little lever here, pull the lever, and they're very light, by the way, not too heavy. You push them up. And that is exactly what you want when you buy a supercar. You want doors that open upwards. It's pointless, really, let's face it, it's absolutely pointless. But when you pull over somewhere, you go to Sainsbury's or you go somewhere in your car, you park up, you jump out, everyone's already looking at your car, and you open up a door and it does that. That is seriously special. So there you go, I'm done. That's my first impressions video of the McLaren 570 GT. Like I said earlier, it is a car that I've always wanted to get my hands on. I'm so grateful to be in this position today. It's been a great experience. I've had it all day. I've done some nice filming on it. I've done a good few miles in it as well. And I suppose it was just nice to have a comparison to the GTR. Now, like I said earlier, we all look at other cars. We all look to change our cars. We all look to upgrade. Now, I don't think I could ever come away from turbo power, but naturally I would like to, if I was ever to do it, to upgrade to a supercar of some kind, a proper supercar. I know the GTI is a supercar, but in my opinion, it's not. This car does everything better. It looks better. It drives better. It's got more spec. The interior is phenomenal. The way it's all set out inside, the mixture of materials used, we've got leather, we've got suede, we've got loads of carbon, the overall build quality, the way it delivers power, the tuning potential with this car as well. That's something that's really in my mind. If I had this car, personally, that 570 would soon become, it would start with a 7 for sure. This car has so much potential, and it's a McLaren, you know, it's not a Nissan, it's a bloody McLaren. So for me, it definitely is something I would undoubtedly consider. Like I say, the looks, the overall feel, the fact that it's got a glass roof, the fact that it's a Grand Tourer that, I don't know why it's called a Grand Tourer, but it's a comfortable supercar, it's a comfortable daily supercar. The doors as well, I know I touched on the door subject, they're amazing. Annoyingly, I've got a guy cutting the grass in the background, so we're just going to try and ignore that, but I do apologise for that. But the amount of carbon that we've got everywhere, and as I was driving it earlier, ironically we've got an aeroplane above as well, but anyway, as I was driving this car earlier, I kept looking around, and there's so much that I could have spoke about. I could have spoke about so much. There's endless amounts of things to talk about with this car, and I kind of feel a bit like, and I know I'm going to watch this edit back and be like, Calvin, why didn't you talk about that? Why didn't you talk about that? And then no doubt I'm going to get bombarded with comments saying, Calvin, what about this? What about that? And there will be a good few questions on your minds for me, for this car. But I felt like I covered just enough. Like I say, it was just a first impressions video, but I do really hope you enjoyed it. Going back to the whole Indigo residential thing, like I said, they're friends of mine, they're great guys. You know, the whole estate agency thing's got a bit of a stigma for people not trusting. These guys, if you are based in Luton, Indigo, like as a team, they're phenomenal. Brian, Scott and Sean, they're the directors, they're friends of mine, they support me with what I do, and I also support them with what they do. They're great estate agents. Like I said earlier, my little brother works there as well. They've got a great team of people behind them, so if you do want to buy, rent or sell your house and you live in the local area, definitely give them a shot. You know, the link's in the description below. Trust me, they're great guys, all right? And just to sort of, as a display of what they're about, they've chucked me the keys to their McLaren. I know I am close to them, but who the hell chucks you the keys to their McLaren? So I'm going to end it there. I'm going to get some outside shots of the car. As ever, if you're new to my channel, do hit the subscribe button. It's all car related, hence Calvin's Car Diary. I upload as often as I can, and as you can see from the type of video I make, they're all heavily edited. I spend a lot of time making them. I put a lot of effort into the filming, and I'm very passionate and very OCD about the quality of my videos, all right? So do hit subscribe, and if you did like it, hit the thumbs up button, and like I said, I'm going to end it with some outside shots. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon, all right?
Push me and pull me closer.
As I drove this car, I kept seeing things that I wanted to talk more about, and I know that when I watch this back, I'm going to be annoyed about the guy cutting the grass in the background because he's just annoying me. The mixture of materials in there, so annoying. I've got a guy cutting the grass in the background.
Your shape, that line, my guards beat up my mind. Unwrap these thoughts.